The Glass Coffin, Chapter 1. The Last Invitation. Once upon a time, in a quiet little town by the water, 9 friends received the same strange letter. There was no stamp, no sender, only black wax pressed with the mark of a coffin. Inside, a single message was written.
Come to Meridian Lake at midnight. Bring a flame, bring a name, bring a wish, win, and your desire will be granted. Lose, and you will not be found.
Ayana sat at her kitchen table with the letter resting in her hand. The paper was warm, as though it had been touched by sunlight, even though it had fallen through her door only minutes before. She told herself she wouldn't go. She told herself it was just a prank. But when she folded the letter, the edges aligned too perfectly, as if the paper wanted to be carried. She slid it into her pocket. By nightfall, the group had gathered: Ayana, Malik, Nia, Jace, Kendra, Theo, Luz, Omar, and Marisol.
Alright.
Jace said, waving his letter like a ticket.
Who else is dumb enough to fall for this?
Apparently all of us.
Malik muttered, holding up the candle he had brought. Kendra leaned against her old sedan with a smirk.
Better than sitting at home bored. If it's weird, we leave.
Theo adjusted the strap of his camera.
If it's weird, I'm filming.
Of course you are.
Luz sighed. The ride was quiet as Kendra's car rattled down the road. The lake appeared at the end like a sheet of black glass, reflecting nothing. A bonfire already burned by the shore, sparks lifting into the night. The flames licked high but gave off almost no heat. That felt like the first rule the night had decided not to obey. Beside the fire stood a woman they had never seen before, tall, dressed in dark clothing, her smile sharp and too calm.
Welcome.
She said, her voice carrying over the crackle of the fire.
You have all brought your invitations.
Everyone held up their letters.
Good.
The woman said, her eyes glinting.
Tonight you will play the Glass Coffin Match. You will bring your flame, speak your name, whisper your wish. One must swim, one must stay. And when the coffin rises...
She paused, her smile never fading.
You must not touch it.
This is a joke, right?
Omar said, forcing a laugh.
Then why?
Marisol whispered.
Does it not feel like one?
The woman's smile widened.
Pairs will be chosen. The lake will decide.
She carried a wicker hat through the gathered crowd. Letters fell into it like pale fish. When she returned to the fire, she stirred the papers with her bare hand. Soot smeared her fingers. She pulled one free and read aloud.
Jace Whitfield and Marisol Vega.
Jace put on a grin that didn't quite fit his face. Marisol tucked her hair behind one ear and fell into step with him.
Omar, Huiz, Ani, Ose.
Hi, Float.
Omar murmured.
You're fast.
I'm faster on land.
Nia said, but she didn't step back.
Kendra Lowell and Malik Herrera.
Kendra arched her brow.
The grammar police and the getaway driver. Love that for us.
At least one of us can count to 3.
Malik said, but his knuckles looked pale where he held the candle.
Theo Park and Luz Castaneda.
You told the story.
Lou said, tapping Theo's arm with her flashlight.
Now you stand in it.
Theo swallowed and nodded. The woman looked down into the hat, as if listening for a name to rise. Her voice softened when she spoke again.
Ayana Jean-Baptiste.
Ayana's heart thumped hard enough to feel like it had a voice of its own. She took one step forward.
And
the woman tilted her head.
Ayana Jean-Baptiste.
The night seemed to blink. Even the bonfire hushed.
That's not how pairs work.
Kendra said.
Sometimes the lake asks you to argue with yourself.
The woman replied.
That's cruel.
Malik said.
It's exact.
Marisol said, very softly. Ayana could feel 2 versions of herself lined up inside her ribs, like twin shadows. The Ayana who believed in warnings and boundaries, and the Ayana who wanted to open every door just to see if it made a sound.
What does that even mean?
Jace asked.
She competes alone.
She chooses.
The woman said, meeting Ayana's eyes.
Which self goes into the water? Which self stays and watches?
Ayana exhaled.
And if I refuse?
Then you have already chosen.
The woman said.
But the lake likes honesty. It knows the taste of fear. It knows the weight of refusal. The match is kinder when the truth is spoken.
The pier creaked as someone shifted their stance. The lake made no sound at all.
Pairs,
The woman called.
take your places at the posts.
At the end of the old pier, the planks widened into a low platform. 5 posts rose from the wood, each with a bracket of black iron and a shallow glass bowl settled inside. The bowls were clean and waiting to clear like eyes without color. Ayana stepped to the center post. She seemed to split as she moved, one girl entirely real, another the thin, bright edge of a decision. She wasn't sure which one led.
Flame,
The woman said. All along the pier, matches struck and lighters clicked. Malik bent to shield his tea light from the faint wind cupping the water. Nia flicked a match twice before it surrendered its spark. Kendra held her lighter steady over the bowl, flame hovering like a small, obedient star. Ayana's lighter trembled in her hand. She thumbed the wheel. It sparked. She thumbed it again. Flame, she lowered it to the bowl and watched the fire catch and open like a flower.
name,
The woman said. Jace squared his shoulders.
Jace Whitfield.
Marisol Vega.
Omar Ruiz.
Nia Ose. Kendra Lowell.
Malik Herrera.
Theo Park.
Luz Castaneda.
The names made a rhythm, an inventory of who had come on purpose and who had been dragged by the gravity of curiosity. When it was Ayana's turn, the word felt almost too big for her mouth. She said, and then, because the night demanded precision,
Ayana J. Ambaptisti.
the flame in her bowl shivered as if it had heard.
wish,
The woman said. Silence stretched thin across the water. Wishes are not easy to say out loud. They sound smaller in the air than they do inside the heart. Jace went first.
I want my life to matter, not just online. For real.
Marisol looked down at her hands, then up at the lake.
I want the truth even if it costs me.
Omar rubbed his jaw.
I want to stop running from everything.
Nia stared at her reflection in the black water.
I want to be brave exactly when it counts, not afterward.
Kendra folded her arms.
I want proof that I'm not wasting time.
Malik's voice shook, but he spoke anyway.
I want to forgive myself.
Theo cleared his throat.
I want to capture something honest, not staged, real.
Luz took a breath.
I want to keep the people I love safe.
The wind picked up. The lake heard them and said nothing. Ayana looked at the fire cupped in glass. Her wish had been a secret she carried like a coin inside her fist. She felt foolish opening her hand. She felt more foolish not opening it.
I want a beginning that doesn't hurt.
She whispered.
I want to step into something and not be punished for it.
The woman nodded as if Ayana had answered a question correctly on a test no one else could see.
one of each pair must swim.
She said.
One must stay. Decide.
Jace and Marisol looked at each other.
I'll go.
Jace said.
I'll anchor.
Marisol replied, placing her palm on the post. Omar and Nia didn't argue.
Me.
Nia said, already untying her shoes.
Me.
Omar said, at the same time. They both laughed once, awkward, and then Omar stepped back.
You're faster.
He said.
I'll keep count.
Kendra and Malik stared each other down for a heartbeat.
I'm better at staying calm.
Malik said.
I'm better at pretending I am.
Kendra answered. Then she sighed.
Fine, I'll go in. You count. If I drown, I will haunt your calendar.
Fair.
Malik said. Theo looked a little green. Luz touched his sleeve.
I'll swim.
She said.
You hold the light.
He nodded gratefully. Ayana was last. The woman did not prompt her. The lake has all the time in the world. Ayana closed her eyes and tried to feel which version of herself was heavier, the believer or the girl who had learned not to be foolish. She tasted iron on her tongue, the ghost of old fear. When she opened her eyes, she had already decided
I'll swim.
she said. The other Ayana, the part that stayed, placed both palms on the post and held steady. The woman lifted one hand into the air, fingers long and still.
Begin,
she said. The swimmers stripped down to what they could stand to get wet and stepped to the edge. The water waited, dark and exact. The moon had drifted behind a thin seam of cloud, leaving only the weak gold of the bonfire and the nervous stars.
3 strokes out, 3 strokes in.
Malik called to Kendra, as if math could make a shield.
Then stop. Do not go farther.
Count loud.
Kendra said.
Anchor.
Marisol.
If anything feels wrong, come back.
Define wrong.
Jace said, but he nodded. Luz squeezed Theo's wrist.
Hold the light on me. Don't blink.
I can blink,
Theo said.
but I won't look away.
Naya stood beside Ayana.
On 3?
She asked. Ayana nodded.
On 3.
They counted softly together and slid into the water. It was colder than the air. It was not the kind of cold that bit it pressed, like hands on shoulders, urging them down. They swam 3 strokes out. The pier receded. The bonfire became a contained star. The posts stood like teeth. Ayana lifted her head and listened. Water made its small sounds against her ears. Then she heard something she couldn't place at first, like wind moving through glass. It resolves into a tone, thin and pure, the kind of sound you feel behind your eyes before your mind admits it exists.
Do you hear that?
Naya asked, voice tight.
Yes.
Ayana said.
Keep going.
They swam 3 strokes back, then stopped in place, treading water. All across the line of pairs, the swimmers hovered at equal distance from the edge. The sound built a long, quiet chord that made the lake feel like an instrument, and each person a string waiting to be plucked. On the pier, the ones who had stayed pressed their palms to their posts. Flame knelt in glass bowls. The woman watched with that same unbothered calm, like a teacher grading a test whose answers she already knew. The water under Ayana's feet changed, not temperature, texture. The lake felt suddenly heavier below her, as if a shape had shrugged awake and turned over. Something rose. At first, she thought it was a trick of the way darkness stacks on darkness. Then the surface shifted with purpose. A rectangular outline formed, sliding up through the water without spilling even a fistful over its edges. It was made of glass so clear it looked invisible, except where it caught the light from the fire and broke it into thin gold lines. Inside, there was only a dim suggestion of depth. It could have been full of night. The glass coffin broke the surface just enough to be seen, just enough to be undeniable. Every swimmer went still. Every anchor leaned forward, hands gripping posts, eyes wide.
Do not touch.
The woman said, her voice the same calm bell as before.
Look.
Ayana couldn't have touched it if she'd wanted her arms to feel like they belonged to a drawing of a person, not a person. The coffin drifted toward her, not with current, but with attention. It paused an arm's length away. For a breath, for 2, the world balanced on the lip of something. A mist formed along the inside of the glass. It coiled and thinned. It became a shape, a handprint. At first, she thought it was a trick of the way darkness stacks on darkness. Then the surface shifted with purpose. A rectangular outline formed, sliding up through the water without spilling even a fistful over its edges. It was made of glass so clear it looked invisible, except where it caught the light from the fire and broke it into thin gold lines. Inside, there was only a dim suggestion of depth. Small, pressed from the other side, as if the glass were a window and someone inside had leaned close. Curious, Ayana's breath hitched and went shallow. She didn't move. She didn't blink. The handprint blurred and vanished, then returned. Higher this time, like someone testing the limits of reach. The lake around the coffin hummed with that thin tone, and in it Ayana heard the suggestion, not of words, but of meaning. The line moves farther away. Kendra's teeth chattered once. Hard Luz whispered something that could have been a prayer or a curse. Jace laughed a short, wrong laugh, and stopped when Marisol said his name once, sharply. Name, wish, price. Across from her, Nia's coffin had stopped as well. Nia stared at hers with the look of an athlete watching a fini.
Swimmers, speak your wish again.
Ayana's mouth felt numb. The coffin's surface fogged and cleared. The handprint returned, larger now, then smaller, then gone. The thin tone bent, a fraction of a note down, like a song shrugging.
Do you offer the price?
The woman asked.
What price?
Omar demanded from the pier.
No one said anything about the price.
The lake always asks.
The woman said.
You decide what you give.
This is messed up.
Jace muttered.
Define give.
Malik called, voice too high.
What do you want?
Ayana asked the coffin, though she didn't expect an answer. The water under her feet tightened like a knot. The tone sharpened. The glass lit with a ripple of pale light, as if something inside had turned its head. For an instant, no more than a heartbeat, Ayana saw a reflection on the coffin's inner surface. Not her face, not exactly. A version of herself. Eyes fearless, mouth set, shoulders squared. The Ayana who went first and didn't apologize for it.
I can't give you a person.
She whispered.
I can't give you one of us.
The water relaxed. The light inside the coffin dimmed, but did not die.
Offer what you can lose and still be you.
The woman said as if this were etiquette.
Offer what a beginning does not require.
Ayana thought of all the things she would barter away if it meant stepping forward without flinching. She could give the lake her fear, but that was lazy. Fear always grew back like weeds. She could give it a memory, but which she could give it the habit of waiting for permission. That sounded like a lie when she framed it as an object. A small, practical part of her mind raised its hand.
What about the stories you tell yourself about how it ends before it begins?
The lake asked.
What about the voice that says you will be punished for wanting anything at all?
Ayana took a breath.
I offer the expectation of punishment,
she said.
I offer the reflex that says good things arrive with a bill attached.
The tone leveled. The water eased. On the pier, her own hands, those of the Ayana who had stayed pressed harder to the post. A tremor ran through her forearms, a tired tremor, as if something old inside had been holding heavy things for too long and had just been told to put them down. The coffin drifted a hair closer. A fine crack traced across one corner of the glass. No, not a crack. A seam she hadn't noticed. A lid fitted so well it made a perfect line. The seam brightened, then went dark. The coffin listened. All along the pier, wishes were repeated and prices offered.
I offered a performance.
Jace said hoarsely.
The version of me that plays to the crowd. Keep it.
I offer the story that I'm only strong after it's over.
Naya said, and for the first time her voice sounded like the beginning of a sprint.
I offer the calendar I use to count what I didn't achieve.
Kendra said.
Take it, I'll keep time some other way.
I offer the apology I keep ready.
Malik whispered.
The automatic one, the one I say before I speak.
I offer the need to prove I'm correct.
Lou said.
I will still be careful. I don't have to win.
I offer the habit of staging a moment instead of letting it happen.
Theo said, loose tears running down his face like he didn't know they were there.
I offer my running shoes.
Omar blurted, then shook his head and tried again.
Not the shoes. The running.
The tone in the air shifted as each price settled. It was not yes and it was not no. It was something closer. The woman lifted her hands.
Return,
she said. The swimmers backed up together. 1 stroke, 2, 3. The coffins did not follow. Not exactly. They held their positions and then, all at once, slipped beneath the surface like a thought changing its mind. The water smoothed, the tone thinned into silence. The night rushed back in and filled the space the coffins had held open. Ayana's teeth knocked together not from cold, but from the sensation that some invisible thread had been pulled taut inside her chest and then cut clean. She reached the pier and grasped the edge. Hands caught her forearms, her own steady and warm from the post and Marisol's, and Malek's. Together they pulled her up onto the wood.
Are you okay?
Nia breathed as she clambered up nearby. Her lips were pale, but her eyes were bright, as if something inside her had been polished. Ayana sat with her feet still in the water. She could feel the lake breathing slow under her soles.
I think so,
she said, and then, with more honesty,
I don't know.
The woman walked down the center of the pier, passing each pair, examining each face with the cool sympathy of a doctor who cannot be surprised.
Matches end at midnight,
she said.
Midnight is near.
Did we win?
Jace asked, trying to sound like he didn't care about the answer.
You will know,
the woman said,
by what follows you home.
That is not as comforting as you think,
Kendra said. The woman stopped in front of Ayana. Up close, her eyes were a color the night could not decide on.
Some prices are accepted slowly,
she said.
They are like stubborn locks.
What if the lock never opens?
Ayana asked.
Then you will have practiced a new beginning,
the woman said.
Practice is not a loss.
A thin wind moved across the water, lifting the hair on Ayana's arms. She looked out at the lake. The surface gave nothing away, but far below, in a depth she could not measure, she imagined a shape of glass tilting fractionally toward her, listening still. A bell somewhere in town rang for half an hour. The sound carried through trees and across water and into bone. The bonfire shrugged sparks, briefly wild, then calmed. The woman raised her voice one last time.
The match is over for tonight. Go home, sleep in the morning. Do not touch running water before you speak your wish once more. Do not look in a mirror until you have eaten. Do not describe what you saw to anyone who was not here.
Why?
Theo asked, because questions were how he stayed upright.
Because beginnings are shy,
the woman said.
If you stare directly at them too soon, they hide.
They filed back toward the shore, shivering in their damp clothes, shoes thumping the boards. Omar slung an arm around Nia's shoulders, not to guide her, but to keep from floating away. Malik carried the candle like a small, stubborn world that refused to go out. Jace had stopped performing without noticing. Marisol walked beside him in silence, like a lighthouse walks beside a ship. Ayana paused at the end of the pier and looked back once. The lake looked like a sheet laid smooth on a bed no one slept in anymore. She thought of the seam she'd seen, the line of a lid. She thought of the hand on the other side of the glass, small and curious. She didn't know if it had been hers. Kendra's car groaned awake. They piled in without fighting over seats. Mud streaked the floor mats. Someone's hoodie smelled faintly like smoke and riverweed. The windows fogged. No one rolled them down. They drove. The town unspooled in reverse. The dead billboard, the hollow bowling alley, the streetlights wearing tired halos. No one turned on the radio. The silence had weight, but it wasn't heavy in the cruel way silence can be. It was more like a blanket warmed by a body that had just stood up. Kendra dropped them off one by one. Naya at the corner near the laundromat. Omar by the stoop with the chipped flower pot. Malik in front of the small house with the green porch light. Jace and Marisol near the deli that always smelled like pickles even at midnight. Theo and Luz at the top of the hill where the road bent like an elbow. Finally, only Ayana remained.
Text me when you're inside,
Kendra said. It was the most practical form of affection Kendra knew how to give.
I will,
Ayana said. She climbed the steps to her door. The night had cooled into something almost clean. She put her key into the lock. The key turned, but the door swung inward before she could push. Her mother stood in the hall, robe tied, eyes shadowed with sleep.
Are you safe?
She asked.
yes.
Ayana said. It wasn't true and it wasn't false. It was a shape of truth suited to the doorway. Her mother smiled and stepped aside.
Then sleep.
She said.
We can be brave again in the morning.
Ayana nodded and walked to her room. She peeled off her damp clothes and left them on the back of a chair to learn the shape of air. She slid under the blanket and closed her eyes. The lake followed her into the dark. Not a threat, not a promise. Just before sleep took her, Ayana remembered the woman's instructions and whispered her wish once more into the room that held her breath like a secret.
I want a beginning that doesn't hurt.
At that exact moment, in the small bathroom down the hall, a thin crack crawled across the corner of the mirror, no more than the length of a fingernail. So fine it looked like stray hair at first. It gleamed faintly and then went still. In the morning when Ayana woke, her throat was sore like she had argued all night with someone she loved. She lay there and listened to the house breathe and to the quiet the lake had left behind, the kind that felt like a page with the first line waiting. She did not touch running water. She did not look in a mirror. She said her wish again, voice low and decided. Down at Meridian Lake, the surface wrinkled once as if moved by a fish or a thought. But in the silt at the lake bed, a glass edge shivered. A lid considered its hinge. And somewhere between water and air, between fear and courage, a beginning leaned forward. To be continued.